Welcome, everyone, to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. I appreciate you joining me as always. And on today's show, we're going to talk about something that is a buzz question that is going around the NFL right now. And you don't have to just be fans of either the Philadelphia Eagles or the Washington Commanders for this matter. But the point is, everyone's asking the question, is this the next great rivalry in the NFL? And I know some of you are going to say, what are you talking about? They're already a rivalry. They're longtime rivals from the NFC East. Wrong. They're not longtime rivals of the NFC East. They're obviously, teams that play each other 2 times a year. But Washington's longtime rival was always the Dallas Cowboys. I've always said over the past decade or so, maybe even a little bit longer than that, it's no longer a rivalry between those two teams because in order to be a rivalry, in my opinion, you've got to be winning. You've got to be playing for something important. And guess what? The Washington Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to be playing for something important when they play again this year. They already played for something really important last year in the NFC Championship game that the Philadelphia Eagles won, and they went on and won the Super Bowl. We've asked this question all offseason. So far, at least, because it's still, a couple months left of the offseason. But we've asked the question, has Washington closed the gap against the Eagles? So on today's show, I'm going to give you my take on why I feel like this is the next great rivalry in the NFL. But before we do that, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, if you see that red button at the bottom of the screen, hit that button because that means you haven't subscribed to it yet. If you have subscribed to it, you're not seeing that red subscribe button. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the podcast. Definitely appreciate all the support from everyone out there. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on social media at Lake Lewis Jr. And then also want to let everyone know, because I have been getting quite a few of you have reached out saying you want to come on our Fan Friday show, which will be again this Friday as well. It's every Friday during the off season. If you want to come on the show, well, guess what? I've made it much easier for everyone out there. Don't worry about DMing me or anything like that. We have an email for you now. If you want to come on the show, all you have to do is email the Lake Lewis Jr. Show at gmail.com. So once again, it's the Lake Lewis Jr. Show at gmail.com. Email me there. Let me know if you'd like to be a participant in this Friday show or any Friday for that matter, and we will get you on. It's very simple. You email me. We will email you the link back. It's via Zoom, so you will be in video, but we will email you a link around 4 p.m. on Friday, and you log in at 5 o'clock and you're on with everyone else. And we have a lot of fun with it. It's picking up a lot of steam, and it's my way of giving back to you, the fans, because without you, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. So I appreciate all the fans. I appreciate everyone's takes, everyone's opinion. Everyone's opinion is important. So if you want to come on, please do. We keep it civil. We keep it fun at the same time. So today's show, as you can see on the screen, some of the subject matter. Yeah, we had a couple conferences today with, some of the new signees, and Laramie Tunsil was one of them. And I was really excited to hear what Laramie Tunsil was saying. He said his best football is ahead of him. He feels like he's just getting into his prime now. So that should be music to your ears if you're a Commanders fan, to hear an all-pro, Pro Bowl tackle saying that, because that tells you that Adam Peters struck gold again, at least as far as the mentality that Laramie Tunsil has. He still has to go out and prove it on the field, but he's been proving it now for almost 10 years in the league. Okay? So to hear a guy like that saying that he's excited to block for Jaden Daniels, a guy like Jaden Daniels will make his life even easier because him being mobile, he can extend plays, he can do so many different things. And, to hear him again say that he feels like his best football is coming in the nation's capital, not left behind in Houston. That's huge to hear that kind of rhetoric. And I think for the most part, these guys that are being signed by Washington understand what they're being traded to and what they're being signed to. And it's not just money, folks. Obviously, money makes the world go around, and we all need it to survive. However, these guys are coming to Washington because they want to get a Super Bowl. Laramie Tunsil, out of his own mouth, said that that's the last thing that needs to be checked off on his bucket list of football, things, is to get a Lombardi trophy. He said if he were to win that trophy, he would hold it like if it's newborn baby. Those are his exact words. I'm not making this up. So when you see that kind of excitement and exuberance on a player, knowing that he's coming to a team that has a legit chance to do that, that's exciting. And that's to take nothing away from the Houston Texans, because Houston Texans, with C.J. Stroud, and, over the last couple years, they have literally put themselves in the playoff consideration every year in the AFC. But let's be realistic. It's a mountain to climb in the AFC. It truly is, as far as you've got Buffalo with Josh Allen, just won an MVP this year. You've got Lamar Jackson. Before Josh Allen won the MVP, Lamar Jackson won the previous two. I thought he should have won his third, but that's a whole nother story. So you have Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And then, of course, we all know that you have Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Regardless of them getting alley slapped in the Super Bowl, they still are the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time Kansas City lost in the Super Bowl, what did they do? They came back and won it the next year. So don't bury these guys yet. Don't throw dirt on Kansas City, because they're still going to be around. But for the Texans to get to the Super Bowl, get to the promised land, they'd have to go through one, two, or perhaps all three of these teams to get there. That's a daunting task. It really is. And it's not to take anything away from the teams in the NFC where Laramie Tunsil's going to be going up against them, because the king of the hill is in the NFC. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champion, reigning champion. However, if you look at what's top heavy in the NFC and what's top heavy in the AFC, it's not close, in my opinion. That's why I'm saying now that the next rivalry in the NFL, the next big rivalry, and I say this meaning it's sustainable, it's something that will last for years to come, I think it's Washington and Philadelphia. And I've said this over and over this offseason on this show, that when I was in Philadelphia for that NFC Championship game, I had more people from Philadelphia, these are season ticket holders, fans that were at the game, telling me afterwards that, you cover a good team, blah, 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 and they're not looking forward to having to play Jaden Daniels potentially 3 times a year. They were already talking as if they know Washington's coming, and I think that that's a respect thing, not a disrespectful statement. I think they really feel like if there is a team in the NFC that is the closest, if there is a team in the NFC that's the closest, to them, if you want to say close, but the team that presents the biggest challenge, I think most people in Philadelphia would tell you it's Washington. If they have to pick one, they're probably going to tell you there's no one. They're going to repeat. But if they have to pick a team, they're probably going to say it's Washington. And I think it is. I know people will say Detroit's going to be there. And I don't know. I get a little bug in my ear saying that, that's probably going to be that Thursday night game, to start the season. We'll wait and see if it happens. But I'm pretty, I'm not going to say confident just yet. But I do think it's going to be Detroit at Philadelphia. Remember, the Super Bowl champion plays Thursday night to start the season every year. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. They're going to be at home. Detroit's on their schedule. The only other team I could see them doing that with the Eagles with would be the Los Angeles Rams. However, they just played them in the playoffs, and Detroit is supposed to be one of those teams again that was supposed to be the number one seed. They were the number one seed, but they were supposed to be the legitimate threat to Philadelphia this past year, and Washington rained on that parade. So I'm saying that I think that that's going to be the game to start the season. Detroit at Philadelphia. Come back to me later on if it happens. Great. If not, well, I got one wrong. Okay. I'm thinking that Washington, Philadelphia has that oomph, that kind of, I don't want to say hatred, because I do think that those teams respect each other. I know the coaches do. I know the players do. They've got a lot of love for each other. But they also know that the cities, DC, Philadelphia, the history of these two teams playing each other, it's really not as vast as, some of you may think. If you're an old head like myself, you remember when Washington, they beat the Eagles. That's just what they did, and the Eagles had a couple pretty good teams. They had a couple great teams. They had a team that went to the Super Bowl, Ron Jaworski, Harold Carmichael, Wilbur Montgomery, all those guys. I remember that. I mean, I'm young. At that time, I remember that. and they lost to the Oakland Raiders. Okay. They lost pretty bad, matter of fact. Okay. I remember that. Then you have to go to modern day. They beat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Nick Foles, remember that horrific, performance by Tom Brady and the way that Philadelphia won that. And Nick Foles was held a hero in Philadelphia, so much so that they got rid of Carson Wentz because of it. Okay. And then naturally this year. So the Eagles over the past 5-6 years have been one of those teams. They've been one of the marquee teams in the NFL, and rightfully so. But I think that every great team needs another team that's going to push them to the brink. They need another team that could even make them better. We're going to find out if the Eagles are a dynasty in the making because of a team like Washington, a team like Detroit. I'm not going to bury Detroit just yet, but I think Washington has that one thing that Detroit doesn't that's going to help them. Actually, I think Washington has several things that Detroit doesn't now that's going to help them be closer to the Eagles. And you know what those things are, folks? One is they have a franchise quarterback. Jared Goff's a good quarterback for Detroit, but he's not a franchise quarterback. Jaden Daniels is a franchise quarterback. He's a top 5 talent in the NFL at the quarterback position. Okay. Also, what Washington has now that Detroit doesn't is they have the consistency of their coaching staff. Everyone's coming back for Washington. Detroit, not the same. Aaron Glenn took the New York Jets job, their defensive coordinator, so now he's the coach in New York. And then, of course, Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, their offensive mastermind, who helped make Jared Goff look like what he did over the past couple of years as an all-pro. Well, he's gone now. He's taken his talents to Chicago to help Caleb Williams. So now if you're Detroit, you've got to lean on your head coach. You've got to lean on Dan Campbell, which I think they will. And I love Dan Campbell. Love everything about the guy. And I love what he's going to do for Detroit going forward. But I think Washington's in the better position to strike as far as Philadelphia. If you're the league, you're loving this because you have 2 young quarterbacks that are dynamic, that do really good things. Yeah, Jalen Hurts just won the Super Bowls, been to 2 Super Bowls. I think everyone would agree from a talent standpoint that Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback. But from a productivity standpoint, Jaden Daniels had a great rookie campaign where we still need to see him do it again and again and again, which we all think he will. Well, Jalen Hurts has proven that he can do it again and again and again. Maybe not at an epic clip. Maybe not in the same breath as the Jaden Daniels, the Joe Burrows, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons. But he's a winner. And you can't take that away from the young man. So until somebody knocks him and the Eagles off their perch, they're the champs, and they should get everything that comes their way as far as all the accolades. But I do think Washington is right there, especially after the moves of Laramie Tunsil, Deebo Samuel. I think the Will Harris move is going to be probably one of the bigger ones that people are sleeping on. I'm talking about around the league and free agency. That is a big move for the Washington Commanders to show up their back end. Jeremy Chin goes. Will Harris comes in. Will Harris is a lot more versatile than Jeremy Chin. No shade at Jeremy Chin, but just cold facts there. So if you're in the NFL right now, you don't even have to be fans of the Commanders or the Eagles. You're looking at this and you're saying, man, this has the potential to be a really good rivalry for the league. Kind of in the same breath as, say, like the Ravens and Steelers, 2 teams in the same division that don't care for each other, that know that they're probably going to have to go through each other to get to where they need to be. They played in the playoffs this year. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Both teams played in the playoffs. The Washington and the Eagles did. Pittsburgh and Baltimore did. So if you go around the league right now, I don't know if there's another rivalry that's got this kind of cachet on it at this moment in time outside of maybe Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I do. I think it's Washington now, and I think it's Philadelphia. I mean, you could probably say a rivalry that's kind of developed is Kansas City and Philadelphia because they played in the Super Bowl twice now over the past 3 years. But it's not the same. They're not going to have to play each other at all if they're not on the schedule until they would meet in the Super Bowl. But if you're Washington and you're Philadelphia, you're guaranteed to play each other 2 times a year. And now it's looking like they may be meeting 3 times a year for the foreseeable future. That means that you're going to have that rivalry. What are your thoughts? You let me know. As we've always said, when you come on this show, your thoughts matter, your opinion matters. Well, now we have that email for you. So you can email me if you want to come on the show, or you can email me to let me know your thoughts on the subject matter. If you want to write in the comments on YouTube, you can do the same. And I love your feedback. I've been getting some great comments in these chat sessions. I mean, you guys know your stuff, and I greatly appreciate that. And as I've always said, when you allow for people to speak and allow for people to be heard, you have good conversation. And that's what we have as far as the supporters of this show. So I love it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you feel like the Eagles and Commanders, the battle for NFC supremacy, do you feel like that this is now the NFL's number one rivalry because of what it appears to be, going forward? You're going to have two really good young quarterbacks. You're going to have a potential face of the league in a Jaden Daniels. And I do believe that he has that kind of potential to be up there with the Patrick Mahomes, with the Lamar Jacksons. And I mean sooner than later, folks. This kid is that good, that dynamic. And I think the structure around him leads credence to that statement. And it leads him to be able to be in a position to be able to battle Jalen Hurts. So let me know your thoughts, folks. Just wanted to come on here for about 15, 20 minutes or so today. We've got a lot more coming up this week, more in-depth shows. Got some great guests coming on this week. And then, of course, Friday Fan Day. I can't talk about it enough because it's taking off and doing really well. So, let me know your thoughts, folks. Get back to me, and we'll have more content for you coming up tomorrow. We'll have a more in-depth show, about 30, 35 minutes, and we'll break down a lot more stuff. We're going to get into the meat and, potatoes, the nitty gritty as far as these free agent signings and, what's the strength of Washington right now before the draft. Obviously, we know the draft is coming up, in a couple weeks in April, third week of April, moved up a couple days earlier this year. It'll be in Green Bay. I'm not sure if I'll be there this year. I was in Detroit last year. Not sure if I'll just be up at Commander Park for the draft or if I'll be in Green Bay. I'll know in probably about a week or so, and I will let you know here on the show. So as always, my good friends, I appreciate you joining me. Have a great, great evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.